I'd like to thank you, Gurudev, 'cause your children couldn't thank you enough.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to welcome you here on this 25th May with Carmelo Pistorio giving us a talk on the subject of from divine to human and back, Vishnu's avatars, Krishna, Buddha, Christ. Now, just shortly from my side, for those who are here the first time, my name is Roland Hartmann. I'm living in Austria, and I'm a teacher since 1974, teacher of Transcendental Meditation. And Carmelo is a meditator and a philosopher, a historian, yes, a financial expert, and a lecturer and a writer. His trilogy of The Sicilian Dragon, of which the first volume has been launched last year, is available on Amazon. Now, in this book, in this story, he mirrors more or less the story of the island of Malta in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, south of Sicily. And this island, we all know, is at the cross-junction of Asia, Africa, and Europe, struggling for genuine independence ever since. Now, Carmelo lives on these islands since he's 17, and he is married and has 2 kids. Before he moved to Malta, he lived 20 years in multicultural Singapore, where he was initiated into the Mahayana Sangha and became familiar with the Buddhist doctrine and practice. He feels at home at sea, and the ocean is his spiritual mentor, so to say. Now he writes, it's a theme, the theme of from divine to human and back, with Vishnu's avatars, Krishna, Buddha, and Christ. I've been giving a lot of attention throughout my studies. The process of gods becoming humans as we humans progress in the discovery of our divine nature. And in particular, I will focus, he says, on the humanization of Krishna, Buddha, and Christ. With the help of friends who work in media and theater productions, I've started a series of lectures here in Malta on meditation and history of philosophy. I very much look forward to become a teacher of meditation with ITMA as soon as possible, which is in the tradition of Shankaracharya, Swami Brahmananda Saraswati of Jyotima. His motto is living life to the fullest. Carmelo, the microphone is yours. Please come along.
Thank you, Roland, for this very flattering introduction. I will make sure to forward the YouTube link to my wife so that she can see what a great man she married. Well, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you, Itma, for this opportunity. This is a subject that is very dear to me. And it is the first time I speak publicly about spirituality rather than well, at least in a conference context, rather than technology or history. And what I'm going to speak about today is something that has been developing in my mind since a very young age. And I'm going to try to uh, somehow provide evidence that humanity is going full circle in our discovery and understanding of our divine nature. Uh, I need to make a small, very quick disclaimer. If I write about history or social models, I write as a historian, when instead I write about religion and spirituality, in particular with relationship to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity, I speak as a devotee, a faithful, as a practitioner, as somebody who speaks from his own personal experience, not as a scientist. So I am relating what I have learned on my own skin, and I can only speak from my personal experience. That's the only thing we all can do when we talk about the realm of the spirit. So Vishnu's avatars, Krishna, Buddha, and Christ, from divine to human and back. This is a subject that once again is a very personal subject and subjective subject. It is not something that I have a desire to demonstrate scientifically. I just want to relate my personal experience. But anybody that has traveled to India will have noticed that oftentimes figures like Buddha and Christ, who do not pertain to the Vedic pantheon, are revered in temples with the same kind of attention, pujas dedicated to them, flowers and scarves, as if they were other deities from the Hindu pantheon. But more specifically, they are often believed to be avatars of Vishnu. In the Trimurti, we have Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and of course Shiva, the destroyer, destroyer in the best of senses, which is that when the time comes that we need to renew ourselves, that's when we rely on Shiva to do the heavy lifting. So let me start with the origin of our divine quest, and I would place at the very beginning with animism. Today, if we look, for example, I don't, well, whether it is a Maori belief that everything around us, the rivers and forests, are actually running with the life essence, the blood, the spirit of our ancestors, or as the Australian Aborigine, that the physical universe is the dream of our ancestors. And this is a picture from Ubud in Bali, where people familiar with Bali will know that everything is alive. In the Balinese mind, which is a Hindu cosmology, but heavily still drenched in animism, there is nothing that is not endowed with some kind of spirit. Every river, every body of water, every mountain, of course, the Gunung Gunung, the volcano, everything has spirit. In my understanding, if I were to do a archaeological reconstruction of the evolution of religion, the next step is when we try to rationalize this this cosmos of divinity into something that has a creator, that has meaning, that has a sense. And of course, Judaism fits the bill better than anything else, with Yehovah at the center. I often like to cite in the same kind of frame of mind the definition of God that Marcus Aurelius uses in his Meditations, which is the creative reason of the universe. So we have we see the coexistence after animism and or contemporary or previous to the pantheons of personalized divinities, this idea of trying to give a definition of God in a rational and conceivable manner, somehow that we can, a framework that we can understand. An important passage is the advent of agriculture. Here in Malta, this is a figurine called the Sleeping Lady or the Sleeping Venus. It is not a representation of the goddess, but it is contemporary to the time where the goddess was the primary deity. And in Malta, in the Indus Valley, in several places around the world, the cult of the goddess coincides with the advent of agriculture. These societies were also matriarchal. The lineage was handed down from mother to daughter. And I think this is an important passage because we will see that in this evolution we have a repeat of the situation later on. Now, the personified pantheon is, of course, all the different types of mythologies. We have the Greek pantheon with all the gods with their whims and fancies and all the human traits, especially the bad traits that happen. Then we have the Egyptian pantheon, we have the Norse pantheon, and we also have the Hindu pantheon, of course. One of the things that in the Hindu pantheon that I, as a practitioner of meditation, as a practitioner of yoga, I am particularly fond of Shiva, and this is from a painting in a early modern Cochin. It's a Portuguese palace in Cochin, but you can see that the style is still coherent with the Chola period of the height of Hindu civilizations. And we see here Nandi and Parvati that catch Shiva flirting with another divinity, Mohiri, if I remember correctly, which is an avatar of Vishnu. And it is the only time, I was just saying to Bob earlier on, where Nandi actually turns his back to Shiva, loyal to Parvati, and also disgusted by the behavior of Shiva. So even Shiva, who is a member of the Trimurti, one of the most powerful divinities in the Hindu cosmology, and who is extremely devoted to Parvati. We need to remember that Parvati is the only. Ganesh had an exception where he has an elephant head because Shiva had decapitated him by mistake, and that's another beautiful story. And so he gave them the head of the first animal that he happened to see, and he made a sort of bend the rules. But in the case of Parvati, all the gods had to intervene to resurrect her because after the death of Parvati, Shiva was completely powerless. Parvati was his Shakti, and without his Shakti, the universe was collapsing. So he was completely devoted, completely in love, but yet he still shows these mortal traits of falling to temptation and flirting with another woman. This is still something like the Greek mythology. We have these traits of humanity that are anger and jealousy or lust. But with Krishna, we see something different. We see the humane side of humanity. Krishna is, and here I'm in good company. These are ideas that I've evolved through my own practice, but preparing for this presentation, I found out that we have quite a long cohort of people that have made this association between Krishna, Buddha, and Christ, and including Krishnamurti, Vivekananda, Yogananda, Aurobindo. and even our Maharishi has spoken about Buddha and Christ. So Krishna is, from my personal experience, the first God that embodies what makes us human. We see him as a child stealing the butterball and dancing, so happy that he stole the butterball. We see him as a teen, flirting and dancing with the milkmaids, the gopis, that were tending to the cows. And then he steals their clothes when they are bathing in the river. So we have this, like, the how do you say, the teenager hormones that are on fire. Then we see him in human form as a charioteer, thus a servant of Arjuna, but also a mentor and an advisor, guide him in battle and advise him. We start seeing God taking the shape of a human. Buddha, of course, was entirely human, but he reached, he became bodhisattva, he reached bodhicitta, he evolved from a human being to a full God. And I have chosen this image because it is in the Indo-Hellenic style, just to remind us of the amount of interconnectivity that we had in the past that we have forgotten about today. There is a statuette of Lakshmi in the Archaeological Museum of Pompeii, which demonstrates that there was at least commercial activity between India and Rome already before Christ. And there is one dialogue of Plato where Socrates suggests that they meet outside the city walls by the Brahmin temples, by the Brahmin cemetery, which is quite extraordinary because to have a Brahmin cemetery outside of Athens, that means that you must have had a significant population of Brahmins that had resided there. So there is a lot of of uh, of interaction and interdependence and relationship that we still have not fully understood. Even recently, the Qin dynasty, the terracotta statues in Xi'an, several professors from China believe that they were influenced by the eastward expansion of Alexander, and that they were either crafted or influenced by Greek sculptures. So there's still a lot to explore. Finally, of course, we have the God incarnate, which is Christ. Christ, who is fully human and fully God at the same time. And unlike Buddha, he's not a human being that evolves into becoming fully aware and becomes God. He is God incarnate from day one. There's a lot to be said about this, but for the purpose of this presentation, I will just stick to the fact that as a mean of faith, we can analyze Christ in many ways. Did he study in India? Yes, probably. What happened after he resurrected, or how did he? But it is important for me to explain that if you understand, as all the yogis that I've encountered in literature, that he was truly the embodiment of God, it does not really matter, because once you understand that he is God incarnate, it is not up to us to tell him what he should do, but he has the power to do whatever he wants. And it is an important lesson to learn. Later, I will speak more about this, but Let me just give you this very brief anecdote. I think we have a so empiricism is the fruit of the Western mind, which is fantastic because it allowed for humanity to evolve and reach levels of understanding that were not available for anywhere else that did not practice empiricism. But we also tend to sacrifice a lot when we become slaves of empiricism. There is a funny little anecdote which people asking me how come Indians don't eat beef, even the non-vegetarian ones that eat lamb and mutton and chicken, but don't eat beef. And so I was trying to have the approach of the anthropologist and explain, well, the cow and the bull are central to the agricultural family unit. They draw the cart, they pull the plow, they provide the milk, and all these things. And my friend Ramakrishnan, who was next to me, was nodding in agreement. And he said, yes, yes, but that's not the whole story. For cows, if you sit down on the grass, they will come and lie their head on your lap. Like, I was kind of like falling from a chair saying, what is the meaning of that? And he looks at me like I cannot understand the most simple things and say, they are like dogs for you. But they are domestic animals. They are part of the family. And so it takes a bit of time for people that are so ingrained in a analytical mode to realize that sometimes we overthink things. And that's my position with the divine nature of our species, in particular with the deities that I just mentioned. I also need to mention the Mother of God, because here we have the purpose of this presentation is to sort of I cannot prove anything, but I can share my experience, and I am trying to share my experience of perceiving a circularity in the evolution of humanity. And the introduction of the Mother of God is, in my personal experience, a rebirth of the goddess. There is a very good book, The Chalice and the Sword, by Rainer Eilke, and I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong right now, that explained that the matriarchal period of the early agricultural societies that gave way to a patriarchal societies with the advent of war. And she explains this in very simple and convincing terms. And I will talk about this also of how we understand what is true. When these agricultural societies became prey to nomadic societies, eventually they had an agreement. You nomads that every 5-6 years come down from the mountains and plunder us when there is scarcity in the woods, why don't you just stay here? We feed you, and next time somebody like you comes to attack us, you protect us. And this is the origin of armies, according to Eilke. I think this is a very convincing theory, and that is when the lineage went from matriarchal to patriarchal, and that's when we have the personified gods that have a very strong male presence, including the gods of war. With Christianity, we have a very simple formula, which is the transitive property. If A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C, whereby if Christ is truly God, then the Blessed Virgin is truly the Mother of God. And the definition of Theotokos in Greek, before the separation of the Eastern and Western Church, is O Theotokos, that which the universe could not contain, you contain in your womb. More clear than this, Christ is above and beyond the entire universe, and yet he was within your womb. From this, now we move on to consciousness. Consciousness, in my personal reconstruction of our evolution and discovery of human divinity, is the final frontier. Quantum mechanics is the new physical animism. I like to say in the original societies, we human beings perceived spirits in everything, in the forest, the rivers, the waterfalls, and now we know that consciousness permeates any physical object around us. So Planck explained it I think this sums it up perfectly. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. So this is a new frontier for humanity. We now have come to realize that indeed every rock around us is inhabited with spirit, because its existence relies entirely on the presence of a sentient being. Thus, when historians walk around medieval cities and say that the stones talk to them, they are not making up some romantic stuff. The stones really do talk to them, because for the entire length of history that they've been there, whether it is 2,000 years or 300 years, but they have somehow interacted with every form of consciousness that has passed in front of them. How to make this work? Well, for me, the best way to understand why this is meaningful, why it is meaningful that humanity has reached a level of understanding of the physical universe around us as an emanation of our consciousness, is to go back to the understanding of the universe in the Hellenic manner, best of all, the way that Socrates describes it in the dialogues written by Plato. Socrates believed, and this was a common Hellenic understanding, that we are not a infinite plurality of individual souls, but that the soul is one, eternal and indivisible. So we are just expressions of a single soul. And all the teachings of Socrates are based on the idea of anamnesis, which is that all knowledge is recollection. So when he would guide his students, he does not teach them anything new. He just helps them to reveal what they already know, what is already within their soul, but has been forgotten, severed at the moment of birth. And that is exactly what I do as a practitioner of meditation, and I encourage people to do. Well, there is a very practical aspect saying that meditation is the best way to learn about yourself and the world around you. But it is also a way to validate what is correct and what is not, what is true and what is not. Because once we are capable of diving deep into ourselves, we actually reach a place where all knowledge is preserved. And my idea of the omniscient soul is so in Christianity has explained this better than any other religion I find, which is the practice of free will. the future is not determined. The past is past, and it is all recorded in our consciousness. Everything that we know, everything that we can know, is already within us because we are part of this consciousness. But we have the capacity to alter it in the future. Only the future is not defined yet. And this is the challenge that we are facing today, what we need to learn. A way that I can explain this is by using an analogy with Freud. Freud had this idea that there is this desire. He had a term for it which escapes me right now, but that psychologically human beings are driven by a longing for the maternal womb, that we have this desire to return to the womb. And I say, well, yes, that is correct, but it is not necessarily the womb that we want to return to. We want to return to the omniscience that we had before conception or before birth. This is basically how I try to conduct my life. I use meditation as a means to unveil the link that I have with the soul that contains all the knowledge of the universe. I wanted to conclude with this comment. How can we achieve this unity with the omniscient soul? Well, curiously enough, Buddhism and Christianity were onto something very, very correct. Hinduism also, but Hinduism is more complex. It allows for a lot of even Krishna, when he was advising Arjuna, he was not advising Arjuna to offer the other cheek or to abandon the battle. He says, no, there is this duality. You have to deal with the duality that you have in this present moment. But the concept of karuna in Hinduism, agape in Hellenic and then Christian, or caritas, the concept of love and compassion is the key to the unity with the omniscient soul, because if we all sentient beings are just elements of a single soul, and the physical universe around us is a projection of all these individual sentient beings, the key to unveiling the entire universe is by being able to relate to all the sentient beings around us. Therefore, this is the kind of effort that I think men in the 21st century are called upon to humanity in the 21st century is called upon to endeavor towards. I wanted to say two quick things, because so the objective of this presentation is to say we are living in a moment in human evolution that is quite extraordinary. We have a planetary awareness, which we never had before. We have an understanding of the physical universe that is far beyond anything that humanity has ever conceived. If you accept this perception of the universe as I'm trying to explain it, we also can understand all human beings, in fact, all creatures endowed with consciousness, including the plants and animals, as neurons of a single body working in unison to create the body itself. Like all the neurons in my body don't have to make an effort to know what to do as I'm gesticulating while I'm talking, because I'm Italian and I cannot talk without moving my hands. And we have the same phenomenon at a level of the entire physical universe. What is the challenge? The challenge, well, I'd like to quote Padre Pio. Padre Pio, a great saint of last century, was tormented by demoniac dreams all the time. And he explained that the closer you are to God, the more Satan will exercise effort to drive you away from truth. What I see today is quite extraordinary because we live in the information era. We have access to knowledge that is previously unimaginable. We have better understanding of ourselves and the world that we have ever had. We have communication with nearly 8 billion human beings that are capable of interacting with each other all over the planet. And yet we are consumed by materialism in a manner that has never been present in our lives. As a historian, I can assure you that we've never had a phenomenon in any society previously than today of mass suicide or mass drug abuse or the rise of nihilism. So it is quite curious because we are so close to achieving truly a new era of enlightened human beings, and yet we are so close to a collapse that is completely unprecedented in human history, or at least in what we know. We know that we had several collapses before. We know that there was a Hellenic Middle Age before the rise of Sparta and Athens. This is described by the Iliad, the city of Troy with 7 walls around it. Great architectural achievements, and yet completely disappeared by the time that Plato and Aristotle taught in Athens. And that's it. I don't have a solution. I just have an analysis of the current situation, and I do believe that our role as teachers of meditation can have a very significant impact towards the positive outcome of this crisis that we're experiencing today. Crisis in the sense of opportunity and change. And I think that we need to spend more time meditating and spend more time also distinguishing what is true from what is false. We have now a new Pope, Leo XIV, and I just want to share with you, some of you may not know, why Leo XIV chose that name. Leo XIV was a pope at the cusp of the Industrial Revolution, where communism was already tearing apart nations in the East, and capitalism was already creating incredible poverty in the West. And he wrote extensively on the need to defend the human individual, the need to defend the family unit against the new threats of the Industrial Revolution. And Pope Leo XIV has said very clearly that he wants to offer a guidance in the fourth Industrial Revolution with the rise of AI and other instruments that can have a very strong effect in dehumanizing societies. Therefore, this is what I think is the tasks we have ahead. If there are any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Carmelo, for this very impressive talk. And I just want to mention, I'm reading a philosopher, Thomas Metzinger of Germany, where he talks about consciousness culture as a possibility to live spirituality and intellectual seriosity to master the planetary crisis. Do you think that our evolution is triggered by nature naturally or by crisis?
That is a very profound question. So the only way I can answer that is my gut feeling is that we have both and we need both, and we will not be able to evolve without both. We have an organic way of evolving. Usually, if I look at societies, they reach a level of stagnation. We see this in all the great civilizations, that they reach stagnation. This was true for the Persian Empire. This was true for the Roman Empire. This was true also for the Hellenic Empire. I do not know. The Majapahit was a Hindu-Buddhist civilization that stretched from southern India all the way to the Philippines, containing all of southern Southeast Asia, the Indonesian archipelago, and they completely collapsed. And we still don't know why they collapsed. They just disappeared. So the organic growth reaches a certain level, but it seems that we also need disruption. One of my favorite quotes, which is some of you may have heard before, but you know, the Romans say, repetitio gaudiet. Repetition is useful. If the teachings of Buddha were sufficient, Christ did not need to come down and suffer on the cross. Buddha is just like Christ, but without the drama. Unfortunately, we human beings do not learn our lessons if there isn't a bit of drama. So we need the drama. And I do hope that in this moment of crisis, planetary crisis that we're experiencing, this potential dawn of a new way of perceiving life, we will not go through a crisis, but we are already in the middle of a crisis. We have wars popping out in every corner of the planet. We have nihilism that is attacking the soul of especially young people in all the affluent societies. So I'm not familiar with the philosopher you quoted, but yeah, I guess we cannot avoid crisis as well as organic growth. I don't know if that answers your question, Roland.
Yes, thank you, Carmelo. Anybody else wants to land a question to Carmelo? Please go ahead.
Maybe I have a question for, so I'm more nervous than usual because I'm talking about something that is not my usual subject. My usual subject is either history or technology. And you are all more experienced than me as meditators. So I would like to ask you, maybe you, Roland, or Avner, or David, or Bob, or Ingegerd, what do you feel of my attempt at finding meaning for my practice? Is it necessary? I feel that David, I already know what his answer is. It's like you don't need so much baggage. The key is in being effortless. And like, yes, that is true. But it's kind of like going out jogging. If you don't have a motivation, then you don't go. So I don't know. Anybody can answer me if I'm on the right track?
Carmelo, once Maharishi interviewed Hans Selye, who's the Austrian scientist who talked about stress. And the Maharishi, as usual, is intelligent enough to find common ground with everyone, and it comes out that they're both in total agreement with everything. And in the end, Maharishi gives him a rose, and he says, because everything is, for Hanselya, everything is stress and unstress. You know, a good stress or bad stress, but it's just physical pressure on a system. But he gives him a rose. He says, yes, but a rose, you know, has a feeling, a heart, a consciousness, something. I don't remember the name, but, and of course Hans, being an Austrian gentleman, smiles and accepts it, you know, and he will give an exception to a rose. So the same, we tell stories. We tell stories. The stories are important for us. We cannot be just molecules and atoms and all that. And knowledge, you know, Maharishi in his SCI says, knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. So if I'm a physicist and I look at the molecules and the quarks and I say, oh, that's very clear. But in a different state of consciousness, Maharishi talks about God consciousness, everything is full of light and full of energy and full of liveliness and is alive. Everything is alive. And just like you showed in your animist slide. So all knowledge is good, all understanding is if it helps us, and if for me personally it helps. I cannot have a blank, objective, you know, totally materialistic or simplistic universe. Because we are, as humans, you know, we have a brain, we have an intellect, and Maharishi says the intellect divides. It says this is hot and this is cold, so there's a difference. Of course, there's no difference because they're both energies on a spectrum, you know. Hot and cold are just different temperatures on a spectrum. They're the same thing. But he says the heart unites. So you can say, oh, Maharishi said, when he says people love to connect to other people. So he says everyone loves to say, oh, my German friend or my British friend or my Maltese friend, you know. It just warms the heart that you have someone far away that's close to you. So all this heart value is actually, in Maharishi's tradition, Vedic tradition, is actually sometimes more important than the intellect. Because he tells the story of Trotakacharya, you know, Shankara had 4 disciples, and one it was Trotakacharya, who wasn't a big intellect, but he was very devoted. And Maharishi mentioned, he said, they put Trotakacharya in there because he got enlightened first, just to give all of us simple people some hope that we don't have to be too intellectual. So I think it's very valuable, and it's very wonderful stories, and it's all to enjoy. And I really enjoyed your show and the beautiful slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Avner. That's very encouraging words. Thank you. Yes, there is a constant contrast between the heart and the intellect. That is true. When you mentioned the rose that Maharishi offered to this philosopher, I thought of Freud, who obviously filled the world with symbols, and that everything has some meaning hidden in the mind. And one time he was quoted saying, because he used to smoke cigars, and so he got caught, obviously, with but how come you smoke cigars? So sometimes a cigar is just a good cigar.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I would like just to, because I see Elena Pistorio is here as well.
My sister, yes.
Elena, it's your sister. All right.
Hi. Hello.
There's my mother also.
Yeah, there's my mom. Mom was very impressed. Like, she says, how did you know?
I have a fan base. Ciao, mamma.
Ciao, sei stato bravo.
Grazie.
Io sono molto intellettuale, ma un po' ho capito.
Yeah.
And,
Poi te la
Yes.
spiego in italiano. I will explain to you. I will also repeat it. It will be on YouTube, so I will explain it in Italian.
Oh, nice. So we can share it.
Thank you.
Yes, Roland. So you met my sister and my mother.
yes. Hello. I just wanted to say
Hi.
hello.
Nice to meet you.
I'm
Nice
very,
to
very
meet
old
you.
lady.
My mother's 89 years old,
Wow.
but she
My
loved
compliment.
she's an artist. She loved the images also.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I also want to say hello to Ingegerd Espers. Do you want to drop us a few words to Carmelo's presentation, Ingegerd?
I think it was a lovely presentation. I truly enjoyed it. That's the only thing I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to present a question to Carmelo? Carmelo?
Do we still have time? Because I had a question, but I didn't want to intrude.
Go ahead.
Can you expand on the last point? Because on the Caritas and on the, because I never imagined that these were actually belonged also to, okay, yeah, Buddhism, yes, but you know, it's, can you just expand how what you meant by reaching enlightenment with through compassion?
The idea of compassion, it can be traced back to many religions, and in the Hindu-Buddhist tradition, it is present as Karuna in Hinduism. And what I was saying is, if we understand that the physical universe is actually a emanation of ancient beings, that is, that any physical object exists only in the presence of one, two, three, or an infinite number of creatures that are endowed with DNA and capable of perceiving the world, that have consciousness, then the key to unlock the mysteries of the universe is by being able to connect to every sentient being around us. And this is exactly what we derive from the concept of compassion in Buddhism, and later on the concept of caritas in Christianity. This is what I was explaining. So the more I'm capable of experiencing compassion and empathy towards my brethren, the better I have an understanding of the universe. That's what I meant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fine. Thank you, Carmelo, for spontaneously answering the question of your sister. As we have passed now over an hour, I would like to invite you for a meditation, a group meditation with you for about 10 minutes, I would say we take it.
Thank
you. Before we start into the meditation, I would like to say thank you very much, Carmelo, for this wonderful presentation of this topic of yours, the humanization of God, Krishna, and Christ, and Buddha, and the whole horizon of the evolution you have spread out, and it gave me a greater understanding of the evolution of, may I say, in spirituality. I hope you had a good meditation, and once more I would like to say one word. I think my impression I can share with you all. Carmelo, you would be a wonderful teacher of meditation. And it's about time you become a meditation of deep meditation of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi as soon as possible. Thank you,
I'm
Carmelo.
much looking forward to it. I'm very, very much looking forward to it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I just say, Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.